All right, well, we'll start our special meeting for the budget tonight, Monday, this July 17th, 2023. We are still waiting on Council Member Arvidsson and waiting for word on where he is. So, but because we are a home rule city, we wrote into our charter that 3 council members is a quorum, so we can proceed. So with that, if you'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Please take your seats. Takes us to item number 3, citizens' comments. On 2252, okay, he'll be here shortly. We have 2 people signed up. And remember, we can't comment on what you have to say, but we are listening and taking notes. So, Rich Cross. Looks like the mic is on, and sir, the floor is yours. You have 3 minutes.
Rick Cross, 20637 Wall Lane, Garden Ridge, Texas. I've emailed all of you about this waste services. Looking at the options here, I just noticed these a couple days ago. I like option 2, but only once a week for both trash and recycling. It'll make it a little cheaper for folks. With these new, bigger garbage cans, I don't think twice a week is necessary as we have now. So, and I assume this is starting right away, ripping the patch off right away. So once a week for both garbage and recycling. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Tony?
Tony Imundi, Paseo Corto and George Ranch. I wasn't here last week, so I really don't have anything to add. I wanted to understand what the plan was, so I'll wait till we're going to have some discussion about, yeah, I don't have any complaints. I've already told all of you, thank you for serving us. This isn't about children or, you know, the school board. This is about garbage. We need to see our way through this, but I don't have anything to add right now.
Thank you, Tony. Marissa, can you get that mic? Thanks. Okay, that moves us on to item number 4, business items. Following items are for discussion, consideration, and action for a selection of service upon option regarding the collection and disposal of solid waste and recycling services, and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement between the City of Garden Ridge and Republic Services. Okay, we delayed this vote to see what option we are going to proceed with for the final contract with Republic Services for our waste collection and recycling. We delayed this vote from last week to make sure we had all 5 members here. As I said, Kelly is home ill, and Todd Arvidsson is on his way. So we'll continue with the discussion, and then hopefully he's here by the time we need a motion and a vote. The first thing I want to say is thank you again to all of the residents out there that gave us feedback. We got a lot of feedback, verbal, in person, email, text, and phone calls. A lot of feedback, more than anything else in the 2 years I've been serving as mayor, and certainly in the 2 years that I served on council. So we thank you for that. All of it was professional. It was productive. It was researched, and your opinions were heard, and thank you for all of those. I have gone full circle with all 3 options in the last 3 to 4 months that we've been doing this, Nancy, correct? So again, it was where the industry is going is automated side collection. And regardless of whether some other cities, even with Republic, will continue with rear load option, they are serving out, Republic is serving out the contract originally from Bear Waste from before. So as you research other cities, there are other cities that are going to continue with rear load waste collection and recycling. However, when their contract expires, they'll be on their way to side load as well. Our deal that we had, or our options with Republic, were we could continue with rear load for up to 2 years before they convert completely to side load option. Rear load is hard to man. It's hard to keep people in that position, and it's a huge insurance liability because obviously there are a lot of injuries on the job. Automated is not as difficult and is less expensive. So within 2 years, we would have to go to all side load anyway. At the beginning, I was thinking, but again, with that option and a new contract, because of inflation and prices go up, our prices will increase. So you can see behind me the three options. Option 3 is manual pickup rear load up to the first 2 years of the contract, and how expensive, how much more money a month that is for our residents. But that's still what I was in favor of, depending on how much the price was originally, because I was afraid of changing there's Todd. I was afraid of changing from rear load to side load, and that we are so used to rear load, what those differences were going to be and how hard that's going to be on our residents. When we first started getting feedback on this after the June council meeting, 100% of the feedback I got in the first 2 weeks was for lack of a better term, rip the Band-Aid off, Rob. Let's go to side load completely right away for recycling and garbage collection. So that surprised me, 100% in the first 2 weeks. Within a month, most of them were still close to option 1. And then after we had the last meeting, we all received a tremendous amount of feedback via email and texts and phone calls and people talking to us in person that option 2 was a better way to go for everybody. So I've run the gamut, option 3 initially, then option 1, and then option 2 based on some very constructive feedback that I received in the last 2 weeks, we all received in the last 2 weeks. So you guys have looked at everything up there. Option 3 basically keeps it the same way it is right now, but it's an increase of $21.54 a month. So, and there are residents out there that obviously want to keep that. Option 1 is pick up it's all side load, pick up once a week for trash and once every other week for recycling, and it's only a $4.06 per month increase from where we are right now. There's Republic's price, and there's also what we have to charge as a city to execute the contract and conduct all the billing for Republic for our residents, as well as make sure that the bulk dumpsters stay into effect. That was something that Republic Services honored for the last 2 years from Bear Waste and our contract there previously, but it's very, very expensive. When our contract expired in May, we didn't want to stop bulk dumpsters, so we kept doing that. And bulk dumpsters every weekend in the odd months cost us $20,000 on average to execute. So for May and for July, the city is paying that out of pocket to make sure that we continue with those services. So there are other things. It's not just what Republic charges, it's the 11% city billing fee so that we can pay our people to bill everybody and do that correctly, and you guys get those monthly bills. Everybody gets those in the mail. What else? And we already talked about the dumpster fee. Option 2 is has been the majority of the feedback that I've gotten in the last 2 weeks specifically, and probably 3 weeks. And of all of the feedback that we've gotten, here's a printout of all the emails and record of texts and, or phone calls, at least, and voicemails. Option 2 is the option that most people have said, hey, let's do that. So that is twice per week trash pickup, and then once per week with recycling. It's all side load for an increase of $14.96 a month, and that includes obviously the billing fee as well as the brush and bulk dumpster fee. So in the last 2.5, 3 weeks, that's the majority of the opinions I've gotten have been for option 2. And as I've gone full circle from option 3 to option 1, my vote, even though I'm not going to necessarily vote tonight, is that we would go with option 2. So based on the feedback that we've gotten, I think that is the best option for the most residents in the city of Gardner Ridge. So with that, I'll open it up for discussion. What we need to do tonight is to make a motion and vote on what option we want to go with. Once you vote and a majority vote approves an option, you will also authorize myself and Nancy to execute that contract. I will send out a letter from the mayor and from the city to every residence so that everybody knows what option was chosen by your elected officials and why, and then how that's going to work, like when we're going to get our 96-gallon containers delivered, when that goes into effect. We will have on the 2nd of August for our August City Council meeting, we will have our contract and our new ordinance updated, because our contract is an ordinance that you will vote on and approve on the 2nd of August. And then this will go into effect the week of 21 August. Bill, is that still the factor? Okay. Thank you. What else? Nancy, what am I missing? Anything? No, I think you pretty well covered. Okay. Let's open it up to discussion. I'll start on my left. Kay.
This may be redundant, obviously, for some of our council members, but I think it's important to stress the issues that citizens, not by name, of course, brought forward, that being the size of the containers. I was told by a citizen that they were familiar with a city that had smaller containers, also automatic load, but it's my understanding that's not available to us. So that idea is out, because there are citizens who are concerned that they literally have no room in their garage. I'm having to make accommodation. I'm having to pay someone to adjust something for me so that I can maintain those containers if that's what we do. Also, there are citizens that are concerned. The price, of course, is an issue, but it doesn't seem to be the primary focus. The focus is the containers themselves and the feasibility. Some citizens are not able to manage those size containers. And also a very large concern is during leaf drop season, the bags that people are used to putting curbside. And of course, we don't want those to pile up. As an alternative to that, or as a suggestion, I've not mentioned this to the Lions, but I wondered if possibly, if we go with this option to accommodate those who are not able to, or don't have a truck or whatever, can't get up to the dumpsters, and I understand we're changing the dumpster schedule potentially as well, that the Lions possibly for donations coordinate teams to pick up said trash, curbside, as long as it's done in a timely manner. And again, for a donation to the Lions, that would be a win-win for citizens and the Lions. Again, this surprise to the Lions, but so those are issues that I can think of at this time that were expressed to me personally and through some of the community emails.
Thanks, Kay. We are aware of a few residents that are unable to to wheel a trash container from the garage to the curbside. There are options that the city and Republic Services can help with. and we will explore those options, and we've already talked about it 2 weeks ago in my office about things we can do to accommodate those residents that are unable to wheel the cart from the garage to the curbside. And that's something that we can work on and that we will accommodate as best we can. So both the city and Republic Services. Nancy and I have talked about our bulk dumpsters and options with that. And what we want to do right now, obviously, is leave July as it is and continue, finish that out. And then nothing in August that we know of right now while we execute the contract or begin it. And then look at September, keeping it the same right now, but maybe adding maybe another option once a week if it's possible as leaves start falling. And then in November or October, if we're going to change our bulk dumpster schedule, that we would come forward and begin that in October when the leaves really start flying or falling with the cedar elms and whatnot. So, but at the moment for the rest of July and then September, we would keep it the same and then make sure everybody knows our new schedule out there. So to help accommodate all of that. Those are good comments. Anything else?
Not right now.
Okay. Todd?
I got some feedback from a couple of people. None of them wanted to keep the manual pickup, just it's a safety issue was probably the biggest input I got from folks. Believe it or not, that was even unsolicited. One of the gentlemen actually called me up and he said, yeah, I watched a garbage truck guy, one of the Republic guys, just about got hit on Batcave about 2 weeks ago because he walked out from behind the truck and somebody had run the stop sign at Benzal. So that was unsolicited feedback and very well taken when I got it from him. The other feedback I got, however, was thinking that 96-gallon containers, we probably don't need it twice a week. So maybe personally, I prefer option 2, but the option to be able to revisit it here in a year or two if we decide, hey, great, this automatic pickup is working good, there's not a whole lot of stench coming out of those cans, and we can do it once a week. Maybe we revisit it here in the near future.
That's a really good point. A lot of the feedback that I've gotten revolves around, hey, Rob, what do I do with my trash bags and all the leaves and the brush that can't be picked up curbside anymore? Yep, that's a factor. A 96-gallon container, as you can see in the back, is a big container, and for twice a week, for a lot of people, that's going to accommodate even some of the leaves. That's why Nancy and I talked about maybe as the leaves really start falling in September and October, having an option during the week to be able to bring stuff up, to dump it. So, hey, Rob, I don't have a truck. We'll do our best to work through that and come up with options. Like Kay said, maybe, asking volunteer groups to help out with people that can't get it there. So, yeah, I've got a 19-year-old that would love to do that for another month. So another thing is when we're looking at these options, when I was originally looking at option 3 and continuing with manual rear pickup, it was, I didn't want to change too much because we're so used to what we have right now. And then as the feedback came in, it's like we talked about going all the way to option 1 and side load right away. That's the most amount of change in the least amount of time, and people will begin to get used to that. So with option 2, it's kind of the same thing. It's all side load. It's a lot of change initially, but over time, it's people are used to that. What we don't want to have happen is, geez, Rob, what option are we on this month, right? So, hey, option 3, and then we go to option 2 in 6 months, and people not knowing would be very, very frustrating to me, let alone everybody else. So that's why I'm looking at option 2 right now for me. Anything else, Todd? No. Great input. Jesse?
Thank you. I myself also got a lot of input, and in my case, pretty equally distributed with all three options. there's a couple that said option 1, but they also wanted to keep the once-a-week recycling. So that kind of in between 1 and 2. Those that said option 3 were concerned about all the bags, that they put out on routine basis and have a lot of trash. And, I myself right now, if we trim hedges or anything, I can put up to 5 trash cans out there. They pick them up. So that's going to be a change for myself too that we have to deal with. And, but like you said, those big trash cans, if you get an extra, we're planning on getting an extra container just because of the wall we have in our yard all the time. I really don't, I have a truck, but I don't necessarily like to come up here and have to dump things. But you can put several, equivalent to 3 or 4 trash bags in one of those containers. So I'm thinking that. One other thing to talk about option 3, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Armstrong, but if we stay with option 3, we're limited to 4 items, correct? Either, and also limited in the size of the container. 32-gallon container was a maximum you were going to agree to. So if you have a 96-gallon container and stay with option 3, you couldn't use it. You have to stay with the smaller container and only 4 items. Right now, we have, up to 10 items? So so option 3 is not necessarily status quo. We don't stay the same. We have to realize that there is a change with that, and plus it's only 2 years. But, going through, what I like about option 2, it's kind of in between. You keep the same schedule, so it's easy to modify. My concern was, how do I remember which week is recycle? That's my biggest concern with option 1. And I mentioned last time at the June meeting that I lived in Victoria, and we switched side load automatic. I moved here 14 years ago, so that was probably 15 or 16 years ago that we switched there. And they kept the same schedule to begin with, and they switched to once a week, pickup. So, but I think it's something we can modify later. So I'm inclined to go option 2 just as well, just because it's intermediate. And if you go with option 2 and get the second container, it's only 17 cents less than option 3. So you get more capability with second container ability. So it's close to the same cost as option 3. So I think that's all I have.
Thanks, Jesse. Great feedback. Another thing with option 2 is, correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, but our schedule would stay the same, twice a week pickup, once a week recycling. We don't have to change the schedule. At our previous meeting in my office, that was one of the things we were starting to work with, is putting together the puzzle of how does the schedule change for everybody. So our schedule would stay the same. So for Wild Wind, it's Mondays and Thursdays, and a lot of other places, Tuesdays and Fridays. So that's another good point. Thanks, Jesse. Lisa?
Like everybody else, I got lots of messages, emails, texts, phone calls, and spent a lot of time talking to people about this. There were some questions about why we hadn't looked at other companies, but on the flip side, got lots of comments about how much our citizens love Republic and how helpful your employees have been on an individual basis when customers have had issues or problems getting cans to the curb. I'll go down my list. It's very similar to Kay's. There's lots of discussion about pickup days for both recycling and regular trash. Most people prefer option 2. Had a lot of people talk to me about option 3 without really understanding that that was just a temporary choice. Like, we just couldn't keep that for long term. This was going to be a phase-out choice. So option 2 is what I've heard the most about. Again, the concerns about brush and lawn debris. I mean, I'd like to be able to tell people, concretely what they can expect, as well as the people who have concerns about bringing the large bins to the curb, seniors. I mean, we say that we'll address that, we can help that, but I'd like something more concrete to tell them. I think while it'd be nice to have a volunteer organization, that's hard to rely on. So I don't know how we concretely address some of that with our seniors who can't get those things to the curb.
So we're working that out with Republic, and it's something where the person operating the truck stops the truck, gets out, walks up to the garage, brings down the container, side loads it, and takes it back up on an individual basis.
Is there just one person on the truck, just the driver, or is there a helper? Just one driver. And I'm assuming they get used to the route and they get used to people who might need a little bit extra. So I'm hoping.
If we were to do a program such as that, we would work with the city to identify which residents
Okay, yeah. And I love that they're 96 gallon. I mean, I love that. We produce a lot of trash in my house. So that works for me, but same, I've had people ask me about smaller size bins. I think we do have one or two HOAs that require that you put your garage, or your bin in the garage. So that becomes an issue with people with the large bins, trying to put those in the garage with the car. I mean, I think Wild Wind, we just have to keep it out of sight. Is that what we just voted on? Or is it in the garage? You gotta keep it out of sight. Keep it out of sight. So most of them are keep out of sight. I think we've got one or two of our HOAs that are like in the garage. So, I don't know what we can do to help people with that one. That was mostly, most of the feedback that I got. I do find that our cost is pretty high in comparison to some of the other cities that you work with. I mean, is there a particular reason for that?
So they're all gonna be service-based, and it depends on what cities we're referring to, right? We have a handful of contracts that we inherited from acquisitions, right, that we are monitoring those contracts.
Right.
But service level, how they price their commercial business and their industrial business to help support
Got it. Yeah, so it offsets the cost of some of that residential.
Yeah, that's
Services.
that's a big thing that drives our costs is because we have
Right.
very, very little commercial.
Yep,
Whereas Shirts has a tremendous amount, right?
right,
The Selma. yeah,
Right.
Live Oak, yep. So, yeah, that's something that goes against us there. So,
right, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, those were really my comments. That's where I'm at with things. I think option 2 is doable as long as we have some of those things in place to help citizens.
Okay, Jesse?
So I've seen, in the past week, I've seen, trash cans with lids open, items sticking up above. I would think that we want all the lids to be closed, so otherwise it reduces the chance of spilling. So we probably want some instructions, I think, on how, not to overload the trash cans. Because last week I saw a lot of things that if they were picked up by automatic, there'd be spillage all over the place. So we need to have some instructions for our homeowners, not to, especially like the recycle with cardboard boxes sticking up above the thing. So I am concerned about, be sure we keep our clean street after they dump, so.
One of the things that Republic will do is we'll stage all of the containers up behind Public Works like we talked about last week. And then Republic will distribute those containers. One, if you're going with the option and you're not getting an extra container, you get one trash, one recycling. They're both blue. The trash has the black lid, the recycling has the blue lid. In that recycling container will come a list of instructions on what you should recycle, what you shouldn't recycle and just throw away, breakdown of boxes and whatnot, which is something that the Erickson clan's going to have to do now. So did we answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
We also have the educational piece that we're working on, and it'll be mailed out to residents.
Yeah. So what Tom is saying from Republic is there'll be an educational piece of this that is on our website that goes out to residents and whatnot, that'll explain it further on how the process is going to work, along with my letter that I'll send out on behalf of us to every residence, so people know what to expect, when to expect it, and how it's all going to work.
I have one additional question, if I may.
Let's do this. If we're going to talk to you guys, if you guys come up to answer, because everybody in the audience can hear you, but back home, online, they can't hear you. Thank you. I should have done that earlier. My apologies.
Okay, this contract, of course, obviously is for a period of time, which I know, but how does that compare to Lisa's point about surrounding cities or comparable cities? The duration of this contract, how does that compare with on an average with your other cities?
So contracts will range anywhere from 5 years on the short to they can be 10, 12, 15 years. It's all a matter of what, we work with our partners out there. In fact, we have another one that we're working on right now that's a 10-year contract. It's supposed to be tonight, right? With the city of Windcrest. So we've been partners with them for a long time. We're in the final stages of renewing that contract and wait for a 10-year period of time.
So theoretically, it's to our advantage because it locks in our prices.
Well, yeah, for one thing, it does lock in the
Theoretically.
prices, correct.
Right.
Because the contract will dictate how prices change. Generally, when there's new capital infusion that's being done, right, so we're investing in carts, we're investing in containers, we generally push for, especially with a large one like this, them to be 7+ years so that we can recoup the investment in those assets and so that they can continue to be used in the communities that we're servicing, right? So the initial 10-year contract was, for this one, was based on us doing 2 years to start and then making that later investment.
So it would assume
Well,
we,
the 10 years is what we're proposing.
is
for
in
the
front of
contract.
us, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And from the protection standpoint of rates, right, CPI is going to drive what happens to the rates over that period of time. And if CPI doesn't keep up with covering costs, which unfortunately happens in a lot of our contracts, right, that contract, similar situation to what we're dealing with now, is we've acquired contracts and we've honored them even if they have been
Loss leaders?
Unfortunate for us. Correct, right. So longer-term contracts help protect both sides of the equation as close as possible.
Thank you. That's for the benefit of
Of
citizens as
citizens,
well.
yeah. of
I mean,
the
for
community.
others to understand.
For the partnership, it's for
Right.
both sides of that relationship, correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, anybody else? Thanks, guys. Anybody else? Any comments? No, not right now. Thank you. So health and safety, water, electricity, garbage. Those are the 4 big things that people expect from their local and state and national government. So are we ready to act on this? Not getting any head nods otherwise. If that's the case, we are ready for a motion to discuss which option, or to come up with what option you want to execute.
I move to approve for the benefit of everyone, the majority of our citizens, let me start over. I move to approve option 2.
Okay, we have a motion to approve option 2, as well as, I'm assuming, authorize the mayor to execute the agreement between the City of Garden Ridge and Republic Services, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, we have a motion for option 2. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion for option 2 and a second. Any further discussion? I'll call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. It is option 2. Thank you, council. Thank you, Nancy, for all your hard work. And Bill and Tom, thank you so much. We look forward to completing this contract, and we'll work together to make sure it happens correctly. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time tonight.
Appreciate it.
Okay, that completes item number 4A. 4B, proposed fiscal year 2024 budgets for the City of Garden Ridge. We will go in order of General Fund, Water Company Operation and Maintenance Fund, Interest and Sinking Fund, Capital Improvements Fund, Water Sewer Capital Improvements Fund. Nancy, the floor is yours.
You have to ask a question at this meeting? Roll right over us? I can't get a question answered? I got questions.
We've already approved the motion, so we've already moved on.
Putting the floor up to questions.
Sir, we've gotten your feedback and your options.
Really?
That's how the local government works.
Heard? I signed up, you asked me in the beginning, and I said I don't have anything to say until I hear what you have to say.
You're welcome to stay until after the meeting, and you and I can discuss it.
I'm sorry.
You're welcome to stay till after the meeting, and then you and I can discuss it. But we've already moved on. We've moved on, sir.
I didn't say I wasn't in favor, I just had a couple of questions.
we've already moved on. That's how the process works here. I'm sorry you didn't get your feedback, but I did get it online.
I just had a couple of questions. Simple questions like, do I get 2 garbage cans? One for garbage and one?
I will answer your questions afterwards. Nancy, the floor is yours.
Well, it's that time again, time of the year again, budget time. Okay. Fiscal year 2024 revenues in general fund are projected to increase $70,211 over prior fiscal year. As you go through the budget, you'll notice that a lot of the line items will say adjusted closer to prior year, or we've adjusted closer to what our actual year-to-date is currently in comparison to prior year. So many of the line items have been adjusted with that in mind. Okay. Ad valorem taxes, we have projected a 2.5% increase based on the increased appraised values in the city, preliminary appraised values. Okay, a lot of the changes that you see within the revenue line item is the breakout of how we're going to account for and collect fees associated with the garbage contract. There is an 11% billing fee. That fee is the city's fee for billing, and the city will keep that fee. There's a 5% trash franchise fee, which is an increase of 1% from prior years, and that money will be reimbursed to us by Republic. We also have our dumpster fee collection, as well as the fees to offset that we collect to offset the fees that we will be paying to Republic. We are eliminating the household hazardous waste fee. Those events are just extremely, extremely costly. And even finding someone who will put on an event like that is getting even harder. In total, with those adjustments, the franchise fee total is going to increase $45,493. Were there any questions that you may have had on any of the revenue? I'm just going to hit some of the highlights within the budget, predominantly following the memorandum I put out to council. Okay. Expenditures. This year, in both the general fund and in the water fund, we are proposing a 5% salary increase across the board for all departments. In addition, we are also seeing a 12.94% increase in health insurance, 8% increase in the dental, 5% in vision, and then 8% increases on life, short-term, and long-term disability insurances offered to the employees as a benefit. There is also a 0.74% increase on the city's contribution rate to the retirement plan with TMRS. So that is across the board, whether it's administration, police, court, water department. Okay. Administration expenses for fiscal year '24 have decreased $174,476 from fiscal year '23. That is predominant because adjusting line items closer to prior year or to the current year-to-date actual averages. This is predominantly due to we have completed the home rule charter project as well as the ordinance 13. Both of those projects included large legal fees, postage, printing, and the mailings that were required with those projects. In capital expenditures, we are proposing $10,000 for a new sign at Paul Davis Park and $19,000 for painting of a city logo or welcome of some sort on the ground storage tank at the 3009 and Schoenthal well sites, or well site. Were there any questions on administration's budget? Yes, ma'am.
Are we going to try to decrease our, sorry, just lost my train of thought, our expenses, our benefit expenses? I'm assuming that TML has,
Originally, we received, our current health insurance benefits went up over 18%.
yeah,
So we chose the 12 point, what was it? The percentage, thank you, 12.94% plan with that percentage increase. A lot of the other plans that we did have an option to look at, the deductibles on some of those doubled, as
Right.
well as the out-of-pocket expenses increased tremendously.
right.
So we did look at that. Dental insurance, this is the first year we've seen an increase in probably 4 years. And Avisus, we have not seen an increase from them in a number of years as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
One of the directions I gave to staff when going through this budget is for next year, we're going to go shopping for
Yes,
better insurance.
yes. With the changes we had within the finance department, there were some things that we were not able to accomplish, such as a salary survey and starting to shop around for insurance. But we will do that for next year's budget. In court, the $5,236 increase is predominantly due to the salary and benefits associated with the employee that's in court. Police Department expenditures increased to $104,726. That is predominantly bringing up the staff, calculating it for full salary for every position available within the police department and all the associated benefits. When we did the budget amendment, we adjusted those to where we were actual through the end of the year. So that is part of why you see that such a large increase. Overtime was increased to assist with the staffing demands while we do have vacancies in the department, as well as the time spent for special events. Vehicle maintenance was increased $2,000, or decreased $2,000 because we were able to purchase a vehicle in fiscal year '23, as well as we purchased the vehicle that would have been purchased in '24 with the American Rescue and Recovery Funds during the '23 budget year. Any questions for police department budget? Okay, Public Works. Stephen is asked to increase the overtime for manning of the brush dumpster events. We've added $6,000 to animal services so that we can provide some fencing outside of the well site so that we can start working with volunteers to come and exercise and socialize with the dogs. We've decreased the heating and air conditioning maintenance for City Hall by $15,000 because we will be putting in a new chill unit. Equipment rental has been increased for special event setup. Capital outlay has been increased by $85,000 for Public Works. What they are proposing is to split 50-50 with the water department, a dump trailer and a new backhoe. $20,000 of the dump trailer will be paid for out of Public Works and $65,000 will be paid for out of Public Works for the backhoe. This is the first year in a good while that Public Works has asked for capital expenditures of this size. Community Center, you will see a decrease of $4,808, and that was predominantly for adjusting prior year's actuals and/or the current year-to-date actual expenses. Library expenses are proposed to be increased $28,348. The proposal with this increase is to move the part-time library assistant position to a full-time position. At this time, we don't have any redundancy and backup really in the library, as the assistant librarian works less than 30 hours a week. With that, moving that position to full-time, then that position will receive employee benefits such as health, retirement, life insurance, short-term and long-term disability as well. The position also will help with the programs, provide more backup for the programs that are offered by the library. Were there any questions concerning the library? In this budget also, as you know, Wilbert retired back in November, and we were currently using BB Inspections to do our plumbing inspections. And when Wilbert left, I had to get someone to do the building inspections, so I contracted with BB Inspections. Proposal in this budget is to transition that building department totally to the third-party BB Inspections. They're all licensed. They will do all of our inspections, building, plumbing, set fees. There will also be a $250 a month software fee for the electronic submission of the building plans, permits, scheduling, with BB instructions from our facility here. Are there any questions on that? You want deeper explanations on it, or?
Mayor, yes, I have a question.
Yes.
With a contract for BB to be our inspector, so to speak, will that expand it to more than the 2 half-days a week, or are they available at all times now for inspections?
They will have a set schedule. We are one of many, many cities that they do inspections for.
Okay.
But to answer your question, Kay, we'll have full access to them and schedule at will. It's not just when someone comes into work twice a week.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying, right now, I think it's Monday, whatever it is, it's like 2 half-days a week. In other words, if you have an inspection to be done, we could be assured that it would happen on our given day as ASAP, or will this delay inspections in any way?
It shouldn't delay inspections at all. So,
Okay.
yeah.
On that light, everything's just transmitted to them. They're not physically here, right?
Right, they're
Yeah,
not
so-
physically here.
so they just-
It's transmitted to them.
Yeah.
I did recently speak to another city manager, local city manager, who told me that their transitioning their building inspection department to BB Inspections was the best thing that they had ever done. BB Inspections will be working with us as well to update our building code, our fee schedule, our inspection, our list of inspections, bringing it up to date. So that will be a huge plus for us, for the city,
Is that
bringing our building department to another level.
is that an additional fee, or is that
No,
part of
that is part of
their package?
of the package.
Thank you.
So I think it's a beneficial transition.
Sounds like a big upgrade, yeah.
With the proposed 24 fiscal year budget, there's a carryover to reserves of $3,382, and the city remains with 12 months of reserves. And I believe that this budget will provide, of course, it provides salary increases and maintains employees' benefits, and still allows us to maintain our equipment and supply needs, as well as provide enhancements to the city and maintain the city services as our citizens expect them. Okay, water fund.
Nancy, hang on just a second.
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify a couple things, or just to add on a couple of things.
Sure.
The assistant library position going to a full-time, it's no more than 30 hours a week right now, and it's about $17 an hour.
Oh, yes.
You do the math on that, moving it to 40 hours a week, and, that's a little over $35,000, but for an annual salary, but it's with the benefits that we provide as a city, take it to nearly about $50,000. So that's the added benefits, health insurance, and retirement funds that we provide that add to that. But I think it's a great thing to do for our city and for the library to take that to a full-time position. So with as busy as Linda is, always.
Would that be in effect October 1st? Was
Yeah.
start? Okay.
It would be. So just in time for trunk or treat, right, to help out, that's right. We need so the dumpster trailer helps us with replacing our very old and rough dump truck, right? So that's great, and then we are in need of that backhoe for Public Works. What else did I want to point out with this? New police car, or patrol car. And the other thing I want to say is, before we go forward, is thank you so much to both Robin and Nancy for putting together all of these budgets for this year. They've been busy with our fiscal 23 budget amendment, which we passed recently in June, and as well as putting together this fiscal year 24 budget. Robin, I was talking to Jesse earlier tonight, and we both like some adjustments you've made to how the budget is presented, and thank you so much. And it's hard to come into a new job from the commercial industry finance world to local government and municipal government finance world and working these budgets right away. It's the first thing you're doing in your job. So you're doing a very good job with that. And I want to point out that all of these budgets, but specifically the general fund for the city, is very lean, successful, fiscally responsible, and it's a balanced budget. And I wish the rest of our government on up, from the state to the national level, did the same thing that the city of Garden Ridge does. So thank you for what you guys do and for this great budget. And with that, are we ready to go on to water then? You can keep going, Nancy. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. The fiscal year 24 water fund budget's going to increase $69,757 over the prior fiscal year, or over 23's budget. The increase in revenue, or that was revenue, sorry. The increase is predominantly due to estimating a 3% increase in water sales over the prior year budget. Also, $2,000 is projected to be received from old debt, and $4,000 from the sale of equipment and vehicles that the water department still has left to dispose of. In expenditures, you will see an increase of $253,048 in this fiscal year budget. And of course, again, there's the 5% salary increase as well as the increase in employee benefits. Overtime has been increased due to the call-out hours for water department on-call individuals. Many of the line items we have adjusted to prior year or year-to-date actual. Also, there's been a number of increases in cost, as well as premiums. Equipment has been increased to accomplish directional boring for water lines when needed. Hold on. I don't like what I have there. Was that just equipment rental, right, Stephen? You can tell me, is that equipment rental? Yes. Okay, sorry. Equipment rental has been increased so that the water department can rent equipment that's necessary to help bore for water lines, service lines under roadways, correct?
So we wouldn't have to, instead of having to cut the street, we can directly drill a hole underneath the street where it's less invasive.
Okay. Capital expenditures has also been increased, will increase $313,727 in the fiscal year budget. Stephen needs to rehab 3 different well sites. The total rehab project will be $320,000. However, the water fund will be funding $170,727 out of the $320,000, and the remaining $149,273 will be taken from the American Rescue and Recovery Fund. Which 3 well sites are you talking about, Stephen?
Well, 9 and 10 at Schoenthal, and 1 well at 2252.
Okay. The water department is also asking to replace their on-call vehicle at a cost of $48,000. $10,000 they are asking for a utility line locator that will assist in helping them locate where utility lines are. It will save time. It will save a lot of time from people having to go out and bore trying to find where those utility lines are. The water department will also split 50-50 with the Public Works Department, $65,000 for the backhoe and $20,000 for the dump trailer. With those, with the 24's proposed budget, there will be a carryover of $25,441, and the reserves will increase to 6 months. I feel that this budget, allows for increases for the employees. Their employee benefits can be maintained, as well as Stephen's able to get supplies and equipment that is necessary to provide maintenance to the city's water infrastructure system.
I
Any
just have a
question?
quick question.
Sure.
I do. Stephen, could you just tell me what rehab of a well site means? If somebody asked me that, I'm assuming we need it, but if somebody asked me that, I'm not sure I could explain it, so it'd be helpful to.
That means pulling the well totally out of the ground, inspecting the pump and motor to see if it needs to be redone or not. And plus it could mean adding more pipe, because when the pipe's down underneath the ground, it corrodes, so sometimes you have to replace the pipes or the shafts that are down there. In the case of 2252, it'd be a shaft versus a pipe, since it's an above-ground motor. It'd be like a 6-inch, 8-inch pipe if it's the submersible motors. So it's pretty much just pulling everything out, making sure it's working right, and putting it back in.
Okay, great, thank you.
Be the same as Todd rebuilding an engine. Yeah, Steve and I appreciate you trying to catch up with these wells. It's like we've been lagging behind on these, and we're in desperate need to be sure we got everything running. After these 3, you still have 1 left, or are you caught up with all of them? As far as rehabbing the pumps, wells?
We still have probably like 4 pumps that are probably four booster pump motors that probably are getting up in age, and those could run like $10,000 a piece just by themselves. You know, we just rehabbed the municipal well up here at the Trinity a couple months ago. So we're moving along pretty well.
I appreciate all the efforts that you and the water department are doing to keep these well sites, you know, guaranteed to operate and everything. And we need to keep them reliable. I'm glad that we're able to split some of that cost with the American Recovery Fund too. So just keep that up, you know, with that. Also, you know, Robin, appreciate you separating these capital expenditures from the what do you call it, the reserve, not counting into the 6 month or 5 month, take it away from that, so it makes it look better, because that's not an annual thing, it's just, yeah, you're just only keeping track of what normal, so appreciate you doing that.
Yes, sir. I did not call this out in Public Works, but it was brought forward again in Water. Unless I'm missing something, I don't see, I've asked for several years, or recommended for several years, that we investigate a capital improvement, some sort of a storage facility. We'll continue to buy new vehicles, and unless I'm reading it wrong, I don't see where we've incorporated that into the budget.
That is not in the budget. I know Stephen was working on clearing out and cleaning out some of the bays up here at our maintenance facility, as well as the old maintenance facility, so he can start parking equipment and vehicles undercover.
Okay.
Thanks, council. Any other further questions regarding the water fund for fiscal '24? Okay, Nancy, you can continue with interest and sinking fund.
Okay, interest and sinking fund, let's see. The interest and sinking fund is projecting that we need $656,937 out of tax revenue, which would be your debt rate, and to pay the city's portion of our bonds. And water company would transfer in $663,075 into the interest and sinking fund to pay their portion of the bonds. The interest and sinking fund actually decreases by $9,400 from fiscal year '23. Also, you'll note on the budget, it talks about the debt service payments we have, when the final payment is due, and how much we still have owed on those bond payments. Our soonest retirement of debt will be 2/15 of 2025.
Council, any questions for Nancy and/or Robin regarding interest and sinking fund for fiscal '24? Okay. All right, keep going.
Okay, capital improvement fund, as you will note on our capital improvement fund, $149,273 is projected to pay for the well rehabs, and $123,154 is projected to pay for our new chill unit for here for City Hall, out of the $272,427 that we have remaining, that we project we will have remaining and being our beginning balance in fiscal year '24. At the end of '24, we should have a zero balance and have completed all the expenditures out of the American Rescue and Recovery Fund in a timely manner.
Council, any questions for Nancy regarding our capital improvements fund? Regarding the American Recovery Act funds, Nancy, thank you, and Robin for diligently and responsibly executing those funds and making sure we're legal with what we can spend them on, number one, and that we've been responsible in distributing that money to help out the residents of the city of Garden Ridge. So it's great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can continue. Thanks.
Okay, the last fund we have is our water sewer CIP. That's the fund that the SIB loan was deposited into. We anticipate at the end of the 2023 fiscal year, the water line relocation project should be completed, or at least substantially completed. And we are projecting that in 2024, we will not have any funds to expend. And that project, that will be completed.
That's great work. Council, any questions for Nancy regarding that? Jesse?
It's going to be exciting to have that complete by then. I hope that happens.
The last I heard, that's what they're striving for.
It's quick, but that's our plan, right? Okay. Any other questions regarding that? All right, this is where you guys come into play. So what we need to do now is work towards filing the proposed fiscal year 2024 budgets with the city secretary. So anything else that we need to do, Nancy, that I'm missing?
No, I mean, unless you have some questions or adjustments you want to, that council would like to make to the proposed budget.
Marissa, anything else? Okay. Council, do you have any things you want to discuss within all of the budgets that we already talked about, that you want to talk about now, out of all of them? Anything? If there's nothing to do, then as further discussion, I'm assuming that you are good with it, and if that's the case, can we get a motion to file the proposed fiscal year 2024 budgets with the city secretary?
I make a motion to file the proposed fiscal year 2024 budgets with the city secretary.
We have a motion to file the budgets with the city secretary. Can I get a second?
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the proposed fiscal 2024 budgets are now filed with the city secretary. Thanks again, Nancy and Robin. Great work. Okay, on to item number 4D, review budget and tax rate adoption process and schedule. Nancy, back to you.
Okay. With filing of the proposed 2024 budget with the city secretary tonight, the next meeting will be August 14th, at which time we should have our proposed tax rates, and council will need to make a proposal on those, the tax rates. And in that meeting, we will also conduct our public hearing on the budget and hopefully budget adoption. Then after that, then at our regular meeting on September 6th, we will have our tax rate public hearing as well as the tax rate adoption. And then that will conclude our budget and tax rate process for the year.
Thanks, Nancy. Council, any questions about our budget schedule? Okay, moving on to item number 5, citizen comment period. You don't have to have signed up for this, but you are welcome to come up and address the council again. You have 2 minutes. We can't participate in the conversation with you, but certainly we're taking notes, and we can answer questions afterwards. Any takers? Tony? No?
Are you opening the floor up?
This is citizens' comments. You don't have to.
You said you wouldn't answer me. Can I talk to you after the class?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, I'll wait around.
Okay.
I thought you did a great job.
Any takers?
Your presentation, perfect.
Okay. That'll close out item number 5, and item number 6, adjournment. There being no further business, this city special council meeting is adjourned at 7:12 p.m. Thank you for attending. Good job, council.